And I think for me, finding the community, finding out that you make friends that are more than just, people that you fuck.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their fascinating stories. We always strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy and positive approach to non-monogamy.
However, everyone approaches this a little different, and at its core, our show is about hearing and learning from the different experiences and approaches people have. With that in mind, it's important to remember that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of our own.
It's also important to remember that we aren't doctors or therapists and that we produce this show for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on this show.
One final thing that we need to let you know about is that this podcast will hopefully include some explicit language. So, if that kind of thing offends you, we suggest you just keep listening until it no longer does. However, if you're under the age of 18, you should probably stop listening or gather up your parents and listen as a family. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 63.
We're home.
We're home. Well, we're back in the United States.
Technically, we were actually home last week's episode, but we didn't know if we would have made it in time, so we recorded the intro before we got home.
That's true.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah, good story. Also, we're Finn and Emma, in case you didn't figure that out.
Yes. And this week, we have a fun, crazy interview with
Sex Uninterrupted,
a podcast/radio show out of Canada, the neighbors to the north.
Yes.
And yeah, it's a great conversation. We cover lots of stuff from how they got into it, met as coworkers, which is kind of fun. Mm-hmm. Some really good sexual health talks, some jealousy. Yeah.
Cameo from their cat.
Yeah, very vocal cat for a moment, but yeah. Also, because we are home in the future, we should be able to have better Wi-Fi. Like, we're talking 100 meg internet.
Yeah, woo-woo. We're so excited.
So that should help the sound quality. And
we're hoping interviews from here on out are much better quality.
So, however, this one and the next two do not follow that new pattern. So we were a little echoey. We were recording this in a tile room, no choice of our own. It's very audible. You can hear everything that's said, but we're a little tin canny, so we apologize.
Sorry. We did the best we could.
We did the best we could. All right, moving forward. Where are we going in 3 weeks?
Yeah, we'll be at Atlanta Poly Weekend, June 7th to 9th. If you are interested in coming, please join us. If you've never been to Atlanta, it's a pretty cool city.
It is. Yeah, we'll be there for the conference, and we've got a little table, a little presentation table, so we'll have some free stuff to give away. We got some swag. Woohoo. And swagger.
No swagger.
Also, one thing I didn't mention a minute ago about us being home and us traveling the last year, we wanted to say once again thank you to everybody for coming that came on the show, and then if we made you wait a while for your episode to come out, we know
or to do the interview because dealing with internet
basically
issues.
our timelines were not the most convenient for people, and we apologize, but we wanted to say thank you to everybody everybody was super gracious and was like, hey, yeah, whenever you publish it, super cool. They didn't care. So thank you for your understanding and your willingness to work with us, and moving forward, new people that reach out, it'll be much better.
Yes, well, we hope so.
So reach out and test us.
Yes. You can find us on our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com or nnmpodcast.com.
Yeah.
And you can contact us there. That's the best way to reach us.
It is. And real quick, we have a fun story to tell since this one's a little bit shorter.
Fun story.
So what happened was we landed in Florida.
In Fort Lauderdale. From Lima.
And basically, on our way from the airport to our friend's house,
yes,
we were able to go on our phones to stdcheck.com.
Yes.
You can even get there through our website and save $10.
Right.
But we went there.
In the airport while we were waiting for the rental car.
We made a reservation. We paid for our test panel. We then picked out which location we wanted to go to. It was a LabCorp over in their town. Mm-hmm. And then basically we paid, and it was boom. It was easy. You have to like take this form there.
Yeah, it makes you. They require you to print a form. However,
but they've got this sweet feature now where you can just fax it right to them. I know they still have a fax machine, which is interesting, but
hey, it helps us out.
We didn't have to print anything. We showed up and it was there. However, we showed up
at the LabCorp,
and it was like, so we're in Florida, right? It was like all these 90-year-old snowbirds. I'm assuming they were getting tested.
Watch your age judgment.
They were 90-year-old snowbirds.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not a negative. So I'm assuming they were all getting tested for STIs, but I can't verify it. However, they were definitely all trying to find their Medicare cards because it took forever and a day.
Uh-huh.
So we left. We got our forms and we left. And we said, you know what, we'll just change to a different location.
Right, because we had a couple of days in this location. We wanted to figure it out. So
we went on our phones and we changed locations. And boop, changed over, and then we showed up at the new place.
2 days later.
2 days later, because it was the weekend.
Yeah.
And they had us in their system, got us right in after we waited, but...
We waited about 45 minutes, but it was also pretty busy. But once, as soon as the wait was done...
Yeah, it took 4 minutes to do the test.
So, gave some blood, pissed in a cup.
Yeah. I filled the cup.
Okay, we don't need to talk about that.
Anyway... I don't know, we just wanted to say this was our first time actually using STD Check. I know we say we'll never talk about something we haven't used, but what happened is we had used a service in the past called STD Test Express.
Yes.
And it was essentially the same service and it worked great. And then they went out of business, and so we had to switch on the fly. And so we had heard good things about this one, but we'd never been able to use it until now.
Yes.
And we can say happy days. We got our results
in like 48 hours.
48 hours. And we also learned, because we kept checking to see if they were ready, you could pay like $25 to get them expedited in 24 hours. So if you had like an urgent gangbang, Cox galore. If you had an urgent Cox galore you needed to get to, you can get them in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll stop rambling now. We just thought that was a fun story.
So, if you want to use STD Check, go to our website under the resources page. Or on the homepage too.
Yep. Or links in the show notes.
Yes. It all says you can save $10 on your panel. And it supports the show too.
So let's go do also on that, sorry, you guys hate us. Anyway, we did draw all the winners for the $50 gift cards. There was 3 of them.
Right. We were doing a giveaway back in March.
And yeah, we're slow, but we sent all the emails out. Some of the people even got theirs. So check your emails if you were one of the people who signed up or who entered the contest.
Yes, you may be a winner.
Actually, you may be. All right, let's go to the interview for real now, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
Enjoy.
Let's get it going, see what happens.
Let's go.
All right, well, Taara and James, welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy. Thanks for taking some time out of your frigid evening to chat with us. You're bundled up and we're about to take off all our clothes because it's so hot here. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thanks.
Absolutely. Well, anybody who's not aware of who you are and your fame on the podcast / radio world, do you mind filling people in and we'll go from there?
Well, James.
So we are Sex Uninterrupted with Taara and James.
Oh my God.
We do. That's the weakest sales pitch I can give. No, we are a radio show that comes out every week on the Sexy Lifestyle Network. Our show is called Sex Uninterrupted with Taara and James. It didn't start out that way. We started as a podcast called Sue on the Air. Mm-hmm. And then even before that, we started out as just a blog because Taara wanted to get the information about non-monogamy, consensual non-monogamy, swingers, swinger lifestyle, all that sort of stuff out to the public, I guess, to as far reach as we can go. And yeah, when we started, I think it was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We just started out with a blog about one of our trips. To hedonism. Yeah. And that's where it all began. Well, we started our non-monogamy career, I guess.
Career.
Before that.
So yeah, take us back to the beginning. How long have you two been together, and how did your relationship evolve into the point about, I guess, bringing up non-monogamy?
Well, it was kind of always there from the beginning. We met at work, and we were just friends with benefits for about a year and a half. And then
we were fucking.
Yeah, we were. And having sex with other people and sharing that between the two of us as well, and talking about that. And I think also the fact that we worked together and
had sex together. And
well, it's not like we were just friends with benefits. I mean, we saw each other in a professional way too. That, like, you know, you go out for lunch, but you weren't able to have a drink. So you saw a very real side of each other without really purposely exposing ourselves.
Well, it's almost like you got to see, like, because most people have like a work life and then they have like a home life, right? And those two usually aren't the exact same thing. And you're usually, sometimes, in some cases, you're not the same person. Right. So that kind of exposed us both to that, like, you have that work side and then you have this play side. And yes.
And then it started to cross.
Oh, yeah. And so we worked together for what, 2 years-ish? We were friends with Ben.
I said a year and a half.
No, we were friends with benefits for a year and a half, but we worked together for like
2 or 3 years.
2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And the lifestyle just started from the beginning, because when we were friends with benefits, we would sometimes find a third or invite other people into the bedroom with us.
Or our fivesome.
It was, just kind of a natural, that's kind of why we got into a relationship, is because we wanted that together.
Yeah, and it was the first time we were like super honest with each other. So when we were friends with benefits, we like told each other everything, pretty much.
Well, had either of you explored non-monogamy before meeting each other, or was this your first foray into it?
No,
you did.
What?
You explored non-monogamy.
Oh yeah, no. As I was saying, no, we explored, but we both had experiences before meeting each other.
But just not in the lifestyle way. Yeah. Like, I definitely was involved in other things sexually with, more than one other person, and also explored my bisexuality as well. And you were cuckold.
I was a bull, cuckold, manicorn.
But he didn't even know what that was.
I don't know what the fuck cuckolding was. Are you kidding? I was like, I had no idea. Anyways, and then when we got together, I started learning more about the lifestyle. And I was like, man, I was doing this when I was 20.
Yeah.
And I was cruising Craigslist for couples because I just wanted to fuck somebody's wife.
So you were on the cuckold side, or were you on the bull side of it?
I was the bull.
Okay.
But I didn't know what a cuckolding experience was. I thought I was more into it.
He was just like, wow, these people are really nice.
Well, and I was more...
Great couples.
And I was more into it just to have sex with the woman, and I wanted to kind of have like this like threesome and like, whatever. It didn't really matter to me. I was just there to please the woman. Yeah. And so that's how it began. But then there were some experiences where I went over and she didn't answer the door. He did. And I was like, whoa, okay, what am I getting myself into? And then finally got into the bedroom. But then when I got into the bedroom, he went and sat in the corner. And I was like, okay. So I started playing with the girl. And then I was like, dude, you want to come over? And so he comes and lies on the bed next to us and literally did nothing the whole time. And so it was, I had some really interesting experiences. I met couples in hotel bars and went up to their room. And she had an ex-boyfriend that kind of taught her a little bit of about the lifestyle, got you into those parties and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know. And then when I was single, I kind of was exploring myself sexually.
Yeah. So it sounds like from a very early age, it was just kind of a natural progression that you didn't feel that you had to just meet that one person and get married, as a lot of society tells us.
Well, I think I did still. And that's the problem, is I would get into relationships and then turn that side of me off. Mm-hmm. And then I would start to get resentful or angry or bored or cheat. And it's because that side of me wasn't being fulfilled.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I cheated. I cheated a lot. It sucked.
Yeah, and so...
Well, it's just because I couldn't explain myself.
Right. And so when you two found each other, that's where you kind of said you were just open and honest with each other. And I guess when you were having those conversations, were you hearing the other person say things that you were like, you were like, yeah, that's me, or were you starting to get defensive, like, whoa, I don't want to be with somebody who's gonna want to do these things, I guess? How did those early conversations go?
Well,
I think they were pretty open. Like, she told me, I think, on like one of our smoke breaks one day that
I don't think
like,
we didn't think that we were going to end up together.
No.
We were like, oh no, we wouldn't date each other. We're just having sex. Like, that's how it was for a year.
It was great sex.
People in the office were like, you're so cute. We're like, we're not a couple.
No. Like, yeah, like when she broke up with her boyfriend at the time, like, it was interesting because this one lady walks up to us in the smoke pit at our work, and we don't smoke anymore, but it's funny that we were out there and this one lady's like, so what's wrong, Taara? And she was like, I broke up with my boyfriend. She's like, well, you need a dick. And then
that's not exactly how it went. It was a little bit more tasteful
or something like that. Anyways, but you need to get laid. And she was like, well, James is right there. And and then it was funny because we kind of had this little like, I'm going to ruin you, you're going to ruin me sort of like little thing that we had there at the beginning.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Like, remember how you said, I'm going to ruin him? And I said, no.
Oh, okay.
It was a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was what, about 4 or 5 years ago?
6.
6
5
years ago.
Years ago, yeah.
And since then, how has it evolved? Are you married? Do you have a litter of children?
A litter of children? God, no. No, we just have, we're not married either.
No, just fur babies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess, so what has the dynamic, like, how has it evolved since the Friends with Benefits stage?
Well, we're definitely in an established relationship now.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
And like we're living together, and we don't play separately, which we did like when we were Friends with Benefits. We don't do that.
It's completely evolved.
Yeah, like it's how we
like,
see each other is like totally different. I don't even know.
Everything's evolved. Like, just like every relationship is going to evolve and change over time. Yeah. Well, you don't want it to be stagnant forever and be the same thing over and over again. That's the reason why most of us are in this sort of lifestyle, is for something different, variety. Sure. Right? And it's the reason why, like, that's one of the reasons why I'm in it for sure, is this lifestyle, is because it's, when you get to the same old thing over and over and over and over and over again, it's like, and there's no growth, there's no expansion, there's no communication, there's none of that. And it's just the same thing. And there's no, Yeah. It just seems like it's a fruitless endeavor that just goes nowhere. And it's like, well, why can't you evolve and expand and learn? Like, our sex life from the beginning till now has also changed. Like,
my God,
everything's changed.
Yeah.
In what ways?
Well, in every way good and every way bad. It's just kind of, now we're all over the place. Like, we've just evolved and changed and, become more conscious of each other.
And sexually too. At the beginning of our relationship, we really were just about fucking and having sex. And as we learned more about each other and about what each other wants and desires and kind of like how to turn each other on, I mean, that's had to change too. And we just did a radio show with Jaya about the erotic blueprints. And that's been life-changing for us too, and how we view our sexuality and the sex that we have. Mm-hmm. Between us and between
us and between other people,
other couples, too. Yeah.
So the non-monogamy then right now looks like mostly dating other couples and doing everything together for you two?
Yeah, and singles.
It's always been that way for us, though. That's the one thing that's always kind of stayed constant, is that we play together. Yeah. We do this together because we like seeing each other happy and fulfilled. That's one of the main reasons why most people get in this lifestyle, is to see their significant other happy and fulfilled. And we love to see each other in these moments. These are, it's raw passion. Like, I'm a very sexual person. I'm a sexual blueprint when it comes to the erotic blueprints. And, when there's sex all around me, I'm in a very happy place.
Yeah.
And so we love just seeing each other in those moments. And it just it works for us in that way. We've had some experiences and some moments where it's been separate, but majority of everything we do is together, because we like doing this together, because we've always wanted to find somebody that we can do this together with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Has there ever been jealousy or issues that have come up?
I think definitely. I think there's always, when you're pushing your boundaries and pushing to understand who you are and what you like and what you don't like, there's always going to be some pushback while you're understanding yourself and your relationship. And sometimes it's going to be, me that has some issues that I need to communicate. Sometimes it's going to be James. And sometimes things just happen. And then you're like, oh my God, like, we weren't even paying attention to this. And now we have to address this. It just kind of flew off the radar for a while and then just demands your attention. And
jealousy is a natural thing.
Yeah. And it's just an emotion. I mean,
it's going to happen.
It's your choice if you want to see it as a bad thing or a good thing, is how you look at it.
Yeah, jealousy. We always like to say that it's really hard to get away from jealousy when you're trying to deprogram somebody into the way that they've thought for so long.
Yeah.
Everybody has thought monogamy is the way to go for a very, 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 very long time, right? There's a whole industry around it that makes a shit ton of fucking money when it comes to monogamy.
Yeah.
And it's a large deprogramming of a lot of people to get to that point where you're okay with even imagine playing a part. That's a long period of time. Some people reach it quicker than others, and some people don't find it until later in life. But it's all comes down to understanding that it's an emotion, like Taara said, and it's kind of hard to get away from. You just have to learn how to almost take that information and be able to say it without having to feel guilty, you're saying something that's gonna hurt somebody else, or because they really enjoyed it,
addressing it,
and learning how to communicate about this feeling, even though you may not understand it or the why you're feeling that way, but just getting it out in the open and being able to say it to somebody is just. And then like Taara says in her course, it's one of the things is always just you can't control how somebody's going to react. You just can't. So understanding that and going to that point, I think it's great.
And so what are some of the strategies that you use on a practical level to work through when something comes up that triggers a jealous moment for either of you?
Definitely talk about it. First, ground yourself, take those deep breaths and try and understand where you're feeling it in your body and what's triggering it. And then either you, at any event, you're allowed to leave or you're allowed to take 5. And if that means you have to go outside and just have a quick conversation about it, or if you need to leave, then that's kind of what needs to happen. We've definitely been through that before. And just reestablishing, hey, I don't really like when you're doing this with this person right now. It's triggering something inside of me. It's making me feel uneasy. It's making me not feel relaxed in this environment. And I think right now we just need to not have that happen, or we just need to leave. And that's okay.
Yeah, we say lots of check-ins. Communication is key. I know everybody will probably say this, but it is the fundamental reason why this lifestyle is the way it is. It's just, you have to have that brutal, honest communication. You have to have it.
And if it's not triggering a huge wave of jealousy, then it's something that you can also keep in the back of your mind. And it's something you talk about the next day because we like to have decompression days the next day where we kind of talk about what we liked that happened, what we didn't like, and just, getting our bond stronger and reconnecting. And that's kind of where I'll bring up something that maybe tinged me a little bit, but wasn't enough to leave or to talk about that night.
And another big one is always reiterating your rules and boundaries before any event, anything. It has to do with like anytime you go out, what are your rules and boundaries for tonight? What are they? Because they're always going to change. Like your relationship, like it always is going to evolve. So shall your
day to day,
so shall your rules and boundaries. And that's one of the big things that we found out in a tantric course was like from day to day couldn't be different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so just reiterate.
Depending on like what happened to you that week, you might have had a crazy week at work and you might not have found the time to have sex for like, 5-6 days. And then all of a sudden you have a party you're supposed to go to and just say, okay, like tonight, just one of the rules is just no sex with no penetration with somebody else because we haven't had that time to do that because that could stimulate some jealousy. And I think just being aware of where you guys are, where you are, and then putting a little bit of, rules or
it's your rules and
placing
boundaries.
Some rules there kind of helps with mitigating the jealousy.
Yeah, and I think pointing out the fact that they can change is really important because it can be very different from a week to week, a day to day basis, depending on how you're feeling.
100%. Yeah.
Are there things that either of you through this process have discovered that you really enjoy that you didn't really know you did when you started down this path together? Like something that you're just like, wow, that's amazing. I wish I had found this 5 years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about the lifestyle. I think that but that's the reason why we started this was because it's like there wasn't the information like when we started 4 or 5 years ago. There wasn't this many podcasts that are out there. There wasn't this many people opening up their lives. Like how long ago did you guys start?
About 12 years ago.
12 years?
Not the podcast.
Our podcast? No,
only a year.
Our podcast a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
almost like 12 years.
But that's the thing. Like everybody has this progression, but the progression of the lifestyle has grown significantly in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. Yes.
And it has literally blossomed into I think there's over 100 different shows on non-monogamy and all this sort of different stuff.
And I think for me, finding the community, finding out that you make friends that are more than just, people that you fuck and really starting to have some really close friendships of me not having to be fake anymore, not having to put on a mask to go out into society. Now I can just be my open, honest, truthful self and, say something dirty at dinner and not get, the stern eye from my friend across the table. And that's, I value that. And I'm so grateful that I found that in this lifetime. Not a lot of people get that opportunity.
Yeah. When you're meeting people or you're looking to meet people, do you typically look for friends with benefits, or are you trying just let's meet people once and have fun and then we like to just do a one night stand kind of strategy? I guess how does it look for you in a real sense?
I think we started off with the more one night stand kind of situation. And then once we started to find the community is when we really started looking more for deeper connections, more intimacy.
Hi, Kat. Yeah, I think it's always evolved. Everything's evolved. But at the same time, the one thing that we have always remained constant is that we're communicating on every level. And the people that we're going to end up playing with are people that we're communicating with on beforehand, and we're flirting, we're getting in touch with them.
Group messages,
and we just like to build up the
sending memes to each other,
building up the anticipation of potential sex. We always like to say that sex is the cherry on the top. It really is.
Yeah.
If we get to have sex with other people, great. We're gonna probably have sex together. It's usually what we like.
What? Yes.
But that's the thing. I think that the sex with other people is a cherry on the top. These are people that we want to be around and hang around all the time. It's literally become our primary friends group. It's the people that we hang out with on weekday nights.
Well, even next Monday, I made a coffee date with a girlfriend in the lifestyle, and no play, nothing like that, but just meet, have coffee, catch up with life. I rarely even did that with my vanilla girlfriends. And if I did, I still couldn't really talk about what I really was going through. And at least with these women, I'm able to. And I know I'm in a safe space and a space where I'll be understood too.
Yeah. I think that's huge because that's something we always strive to find too. And like the sex is just the cherry on top is the way we go about it as well.
Yeah. It's a good strategy. Have you, or do you see yourselves ever migrating towards like a polyamorous dynamic, or do you think you'll stay more on the swinging casual sex side?
We're not opposed to anything. I think that we're like, again, it's going to be an evolution.
Yeah.
It's going to evolve.
We've explored it a little bit with unicorns before, but it's hard with the business, with Sex Uninterrupted, and being in the lifestyle, and then having somebody else that we're in a relationship with. Like, it was really hard to juggle everything.
Sure.
Well, and that's what I was just about to say. Like, the one thing that is like, okay, for those polyamorous people, like, I will literally give you the biggest high five in the history of fucking mankind. How do you have that much time to, one, have a career potentially or not, but how do you have the time to go and be with two different people? At least. Like, and
we struggled with it. The balance was really, really difficult for us.
Like, how does that work? How do you have that much time?
Yeah, I think it's
go to work, to come home, to walk the dogs, to, then have to potentially please one partner, then please the other. It's like, where did you find that time? Like, because that.
What about you guys?
It just, for me, I'm like, you know what? All the more power to you. Congratulations, you figured it out. For me, I'm like, I have no time.
Yeah.
Like, I want the time that we have together, because that's why we make a plan and a schedule and we schedule it all out. I want to know the times that I can spend with her and just be with her and be with Taara and just be into these moments and, like, exploring and trying different things and, like, why having dates and going on in different experiences. I don't know how I would have time to not do that when I want to do it with her. So, like, most of the stuff we would do wouldn't be necessarily polyamorous, like dating.
It'd be like a triad.
It would be like a triad of, like, bringing a single in to date both of us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. It's not for everybody.
No.
Yeah, it's time is I think when we talk to people who are in poly dynamics, the timing and scheduling is definitely at the top of the list of hardest things that they have to juggle. So
yeah.
It is.
I believe it.
It is crazy to think and that's another one of the things that I like to talk about. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I'm saying, this is an amazing thing, because I always like to say, it's like, how can you, like, monogamous relationships, how can you rely on somebody 100% for your emotional needs and 100% of your physical and sexual needs? It's like, you're asking one person to satisfy all of that. And the one thing about the lifestyle that kind of gives you that sort of liberation is that you have now be able to, have other people enter your life and satisfy that sexual wants and desires.
Or some of them.
Some of them, yeah. Right? Not all of them. But then again, now you're just knocking off the percentages. I'm an accountant by trade. So when you start knocking off numbers,
and
the
in polyamory, you can maybe find something in other partners that your other partner is
lacking
or not very strong at, like being romantic or,
being sensual or being kinky, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Especially kinky in this world and in this lifestyle has been great, because it's like, I'm not the kinkiest person. I'm a very sexual person, but, like, kinky's not my forte. I do like kink, but I'm not the biggest fan of, I feel like I'm hurting somebody.
Yeah.
So that's why kink doesn't really resonate with me. But it's great in this lifestyle because you can go and find somebody who's kinky that, can satisfy that kink for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if Taara wants to be a dominatrix and beat the shit out of somebody, that's what she's going to go and do.
Only if you're lucky.
So along the lines of all of this, I think, is people, looking in from the outside are, one of the questions that always comes up is, how do you keep yourself safe? Not necessarily in the getting the shit beat out of you from a dominatrix, but sexually speaking, like, you're keeping yourselves healthy and ready to go on a moment's notice. How do you two handle that?
Oh, yeah.
We're tested every 3 months.
It kind of depends. We like to, before a big event, so like before going to like Naughty and Nollins or something, we definitely like to get tested and just make sure everything is good before we go. One of my friends, a girl I know, that she owns a company called Direct Health Solutions. She comes to your house and just does all the testing at home for you. It's only $99 Canadian, which is pretty freaking cheap.
Yeah.
And she does everything. She knows all about the lifestyle. So she, goes above and beyond. She even does like throat swabs and stuff. And she gives you just a text. Like 2 days later, you get everything back, which is super awesome.
Yeah, is that a Canadian, like a local resource to your area? I'm assuming she doesn't fly all over the country.
Yeah, just in Calgary.
Yeah.
Okay. That's still a good resource. Appreciate it.
I think there's a few, like, they're starting to pop up more and more. She does, she's like an at-home nurse, but she knows about the lifestyle, so that's kind of something she's niched herself into.
And sexual health is literally the number one thing that always is what deters people from getting into this lifestyle, is fearful of contracting an STI.
Yes.
And honestly, we had a conversation with a nurse. As long as you're making sure that you're staying up on your panels and making sure you're getting your panels and you know your information, one, it should be a topic of conversation that gets brought up within the first date. If you're dating somebody else, if you're going on a date with another couple, it should be something. When was your last panel? And then really, to be even more honest, it's like, well, since your last panel, have you played with anybody? It's still a question you can ask. Yeah. But like, again, approaching it with, again, honesty and almost a directness kind of removes the whole stigma of having to go through that. But again, now you're still giving the other person the option. Like, let's say you have contracted something and you're honest about it. Now it gives the other person an option and a choice on what they want to do, or what they want, if they want to say something, or right. You're giving them the choice without divulging the information. Well, you're a selfish asshole. Well, you should be divulging it. How can you not?
There's a big, huge debate going on about this in the lifestyle.
I think you should be divulging it.
Lots of people have messaged me this, asking if you have an STI, if it's something that needs to be shared with people you're playing with. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on it?
I mean, yeah, I think if you're not going to share, then what's the reason of getting tested? In my opinion,
I feel like it's worth. I mean, it feels like it's very important to share as well, and it allows everyone to have that conversation, and it allows the other people to be informed, and then you can have a conversation. And maybe if you are diagnosed with something, but then you're on treatment, and that can all be part of the conversation.
Well, and I think in an even simpler terms, if you were the one that wasn't getting divulged, like, you would want somebody to tell you, right? I mean, I
think you want the choice.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that if you know for a fact, you should be divulging that information.
Yeah.
I think no matter what, if you know for a fact.
A softer way of saying that, my love.
Well, I still think that it's a selfish act to be playing with other people and potentially giving somebody else an STI or something along those lines.
I get you.
I think that is a very selfish act if you do not divulge that information, because you don't know who they're playing with. You don't know if they're playing with other people. Now you're spreading it within a bunch of different people, and you're not giving somebody the choice or the knowledge for them to make the decision on whether they not want to play with you, right? There's always a risk when it comes to sexual transmitted diseases, and there's always a risk when you're playing with multiple partners. Yeah. There's always going to be a higher risk. That's what I should say.
Yeah,
right?
I think the hard part here is, right, there's such a stigma around a lot of these, STIs, and whether it's, herpes or any of them, right? Usually the stigma around it is far worse than the actual symptoms, the physical symptoms that you would ever experience. And so I think that the hard part here is, how do we destigmatize these? And I think the best way to do that is, if you are somebody who has something, and it's not easy to say, right? It's easy for you to sit here and tell people, but the more we talk about it, the more we have the conversation, and the more people say what they're dealing with, the more and more destigmatized it's going to be. And you know, we've been in play situations with groups where beforehand we go around a circle and everybody says when they got tested and what the results were, and we've really seen some amazing things where people have said, you know, I have this, I have that, I've had these symptoms or whatever it is. And it's not like people shun them to a corner, right? It's giving people the option to say, okay, I know this person has HSV1, and now I get to decide, is it worth it for me to play with them and potentially expose myself to that? It doesn't mean...
Or you could choose to use barriers and for something that maybe you wouldn't otherwise.
Right. And so
yeah, exactly.
It's all about giving people the choice around their sexual health. And I think that's something that we all want from our partners, and you really have no reason not to give that back to somebody else.
Exactly.
And that's my opinion on it.
No, that's very well said.
and not even, and to the point, I think that it also goes like there are also multiple platforms where I'm almost positive there are other people who are either positive of something that you may have as well, and I guarantee that there's groups out there. I know
like support groups.
Yeah, I know that there are some couples in the non-monogamy community that are definitely looking for that, because I think that there should be a group of people that, you know, have the HSV1 virus, and they can now have the choice between the two of them. Like, again, that's that one thing where you're now able to communicate with people who have the same technical infection, their same STI, and now you can have the choice whether you want to play with them, because now you're like, okay, well, we both have it. Maybe there's no risk on passing it to either of us.
I've kind of seen that in like, because I'm in a Ladies of the Lifestyle group on Facebook, and one of the girls shared that, like, and it's 700 women in this group, and you know, the amount of women that like were so touched by the fact that she opened up about what she had was like, they found so much power in that as well, and also kind of brought you know, her to closer with other women around her that maybe needed that support too from her,
or needed somebody to say it, right? Like you said, kind of almost like normalizing the conversation around it.
Yeah. But I think there's even more stigma too around something like HSV1. I mean, that one in particular is very, very common, and among non-monogamous folks, but also just among the general population. And people need to be, learn and be educated about what it is, what they all are, and how to handle them all. And there's just a lot of lack of that information out there. I think that, at least, this is a whole another topic, but at least in our sex education systems.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had an interview with a nurse talking about all this stuff and the risks you take and all the different risks and all the risks that you have. And
she was great.
Yeah, she explained it all, and she knows about the lifestyle, so that's why it was like great for her to come on. And she also was like, you know, I'll give you your results. I'll tell you
that's the one that does it at home.
At the home.
We interviewed her.
Yeah, so it was great because she gave us a great analogy from a nurse's perspective of like, you know, and then once you know, if you do have something, tell people and make sure that you're divulging that information. Like, she was pretty adamant about, like, if you have something, you should be telling your partners.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's coming from a practitioner. So
yeah, so we'll make sure to link to that episode in our show notes too, in case anyone's looking for that exact topic.
And I think maybe on like a closing note for this piece of it, just for people that are listening that know they have something and are afraid to talk about it, I think it goes back to the adage. I think it's probably a Dan Savageism of, you know, you tell somebody one thing about you and how they react tells you everything you need to know about them. And I think what we've seen by and large in the lifestyle is when people share this type of stuff, they are greeted with, you know, thank you for sharing that. And now let me talk with my partner about how we want to navigate this. And that's not to say like we're never going to touch you, but now we know, like, hey, do we need to increase barrier usage? Is there a medicine that we can get on, whether it's PrEP or Valtrex or whatever it is to help all of us be safer about this. And I think it's not an easy conversation to have, but it is a really good one to have. And I think.
And if someone, to your point, if someone reacts very badly to you saying that, then you didn't want to deal with them anyway.
Yeah.
That's not the right people.
It's like the same person that would react to you saying no negatively,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, okay, now I know why I said no.
Yeah. So that's went really deep on that, and I appreciate it. And I think.
Well, and we always play safe when we're playing outside of our relationship. So always play safe.
And that means for you, like condoms, does that mean other barriers?
I wouldn't be opposed to it, right? And just always being safe. Playing safe as safe as you possibly can.
Like even on dildos that we have, like making sure to use condoms with them because they're porous. And so you got to...
Toys.
Yeah.
Changing partners, always change condoms.
Like in group situations, washing your hands and, cleaning up between partners too.
Yeah. Very good tips.
Yes. I wanted to ask, you are one of the only, back 4 or 5 years ago when you started your blog and then podcast, you were one of the only ones out there. Where did you get the idea and what was behind that wanting to share all the information?
Because we were young once and wanted information.
And we couldn't find it.
And that's like we were like, if I had found this lifestyle when I was 19, 20, doing the things that I was doing, like my whole life would have been different.
Yeah. There would have been like a lot. I would have known who I was a lot sooner.
Yeah, I would have been able to find this community, and I would have been able to find, like, we may not have found each other, but, we came into it at the right time and where we were and what we were doing. But I think that the reason why is because we were young, looking to explore, and
we were looking for information, and we struggled. Like, we were on Craigslist looking for people. We didn't know what to do.
What the lifestyle really was about. Mm-hmm. Like, we didn't really have much of a basis to go off of. We knew about swinger parties back in the 70s of fishbowl parties and thinking, well, that's what it is. And like swinger clubs are all these older people that are just, DTF.
And then like I would go online to more well-known places, like even Desire Resorts, right? Trying to find information, or Hito, trying to find information about the lifestyle. And I couldn't find anything. Really, I didn't know what
No, we just didn't know what the lifestyle was.
Yeah.
And that's why we wanted to share our story. And Taara was an excellent writer. I'm more of a talker. And so, but it's just evolved from just wanting to share information to really wanting to help people if they're ever in like the situation that we were in and they're looking for an outlet to help them get through something or maybe find their way. Like that's what we just wanted to do, is just help people in understanding that thinking of non-monogamy in a kind of casual way is an okay thing.
Right.
Yeah. Just like your name. Normalizing non-monogamy.
Yep.
Well, we appreciate the plug. So one of the things we like to bring up, and maybe this is a decent segue, being that you were looking for information early on and probably were fumbling around a little bit here and there. Is there any funny or entertaining maybe blooper that happened to either or both of you in your time? Like, I don't know, it's something that we like to ask so people know that it doesn't always go perfect. Because there's the stigma that everybody just nails it every time. And
it's far from perfect, guys. Everyone listen, it's far from perfect. There will be great, amazing times that'll work out 100% in your favor.
What's an example?
And there are times where, we kind of shared some on one of our last episodes was sexy swinger stories.
That wasn't bloopers, though.
We did do bloopers in the beginning of it, remember?
Oh.
Talked about pull from the base.
Oh, okay. There's a good one.
Yeah, we were at an orgy and we were in an orgy, and Taara was downstairs with the host's wife, and the host male was in the bedroom slaying, having fun. Anyways, I don't know what I was doing, but I was literally sitting on the bed watching these two have sex on the couch. And she proclaimed to him that she was a big fan of the cum shop. So he was like super eager about this. So he's pounding away, and then goes to ejaculate on her. So he pulls out and goes to take the condom off. He grabs from the tip of the condom and pulls away. At this point, the condom broke, snapped back, and smashed him in the tip of the dick.
As he's coming.
So he's coming, and the condom came back, snapped him, hit on top of his head, right around the hole, and it literally increased his dick size by about half an inch. He got a blood blister because there was so much blood in there. It ruptured all the vessels in the tip of his dick. And so he increased his dick by about half an inch. Comes all over her, mix of blood and semen, because it like broke the skin. Comes on her, runs to the bathroom, is like, oh my God, what did I just do? Comes into the room and it's like, guys, I really fucked up my dick, and turns around and he's got literally a half-inch extra head on his dick. Then runs out of the room, came down to us, to me and his wife, and he's like, oh my God, honey, look what happened. And we were just like, what the fuck? It looked so. It's like, you need to go to the doctor. But I don't think he did. It was just like a big blood blister on the end of his penis. Anyways, the long story short is, if you are going to remove a condom in haste, pull from the base.
Yes.
Pull from the base and slide it off.
You guys should write children's books.
We're like, pull from the base. That's
like a saying. Song. Like, when we get into the next orgy, it's pull from the base.
Yeah.
Pull from the base.
Oh man, I bet you watching this, James, was horrified at it. Just didn't know what you were watching, right?
I was staring down Main Street and I was like, what just happened? I literally was in shock. I was in shock. I was like, okay, wait, did that actually just happen? And no, flat out. Pulled the condom, snapped back, hit him in the tip of the dick. And
probably happened so fast, though, too.
It was so fast, but he was coming at the same time, which was kind of funny, right? The guy's like, oh my God. And he's freaking out. Oh, man, it was just...
That's torture.
But it was comical. You can't stop yourself from coming when you get to that point, right?
Right. Point of no return.
Is that the point of no? Yeah, exactly.
The point of no return, and just absolutely lets it go. And I was in awe. I was shocked. It was amazing and scary all at the same time.
Well, it sounds like he was okay though after he toughed. It was okay after a little bit.
It was a few months, I think. Actually.
No, it was only a week.
No,
because he sent me a picture of it. He had just hit a ring around a bruise around the hole of his penis.
Pretty sure it was a while. So.
Well, we wish him the best.
Yeah.
He's better now.
It was a while ago.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate that graphic retelling, and
I love that story. It is literally made oh, and we got another quick one. A woman, while her husband was going down on her, and I was going down on Taara, and we were on the same bed. She's like, I gotta go to the bathroom. He lifted up out of between the legs. She came around, swung her legs around, and heel clocked him in the eye socket. Full on heel in the eye socket. Just cracked him. Guy's got a half open eye.
It was swollen right away.
I was like, am I going to take this guy to the hospital? It was quite interesting. So it doesn't always work out in everybody's favor, but it is fun.
Yeah.
So when you say you always wear protection, it's hockey helmet with a full cage.
100%.
And just a cutout for your tongue.
Yeah. Football helmet, shoulder pads, anything else you feel like you might need.
Perfect.
Scissors if you're going to use rope.
Perfect. Well, thank you both, I think, for coming on. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to get out into the world? Not that you don't have your own platform, but...
I don't know.
How do they find us?
I was going to say, plug yourself.
Oh, plug ourselves. Okay. didn't take that cue very well. You can find us at sexuninterrupted.com. There you can find all the links for the radio show, for events that we have coming up, for travel that we have coming up, and just lots of good info about the lifestyle as well that I share on there. At least once a month I'm updating it. So
Very cool.
Yeah, that's the place to be.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for coming on. And have a wonderful night. Stay warm, and we will be in touch.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you for having us.
We're back again.
We may be home, but we don't have a good way to come back yet.
We got to work on it. But
Okay.
since we're back, we have a couple things we do want to say.
First off, thanks to Taara and James.
For their time, for coming on. Also, we're going on their show later this summer.
Yeah,
to
we're not sure exactly when yet, but we're going to get that set up.
We're working out some dates. That's our fault, not theirs. And real quick, one thing that came up during this conversation was a pretty in-depth talk about STDs and whether or not to disclose. And I guess something that we've been talking a lot about is how do we further destigmatize this conversation. And
It's something we feel very passionate about. Like, it's really important.
yeah, because, a lot of the time, again, the stigma behind getting something is way worse than actually having it. And I think there's a lot more people who are willing to play with people who test positive for something than one would imagine. And it's really not a death sentence to your sex life or your swinging life or your poly life or your life anymore, right? So what we were hoping, and we know this is a little bit of a weird ask, but if you're somebody who has tested positive and it's a story you are willing to come on and share, we think it would be very helpful for people to talk about, what did you go through when that happened? What have you gone through since then in disclosing it? How have people reacted? And just trying to help us help as many people as we can. So we know that's an unusual ask, and it's a big ask for people, but we wanted to throw it out there anyways.
Yep, exactly.
The other thing that happened was big Twitter news. If you're on the Twitter following the other lifestyle podcasters, there was a
Scuffle?
Sure. Kerfuffle. A brouhaha down at Desire in Mexico. Basically, two women who are podcasters, the Torrid Souls. We interviewed them a couple weeks back. They went and showed up and basically were turned away because they went to show up for a day pass and were turned away because they were a same-sex couple, even though they had been there multiple times before. So we've talked a little bit about in the behind the scenes about how we wanted to handle this, whether it was asking people to write an email to Desire. We don't really want to.
Because overall, we want Desire to loosen their rules and to be a little bit more open-minded.
Get up to speed, but they're also we talked to Torrid Souls a little bit about this just the other day, and they're in talks, it sounds like, with Desire. So rather than us preemptively say something that doesn't need to be said, we just want to
butt in a little bit.
Yeah.
We're gonna stand back for the time being.
Yeah, we just wanted to acknowledge that it happened because we talked about it on Twitter, saying that we wanted to do something, and we do, but we also want to make sure we have all the facts before we do. So we're not going to do anything at the moment.
Right now.
But we will soon when we have more info.
So we'll update you when we know more.
All right.
Next week. Wait, before next week. One resource we just wanted to mention quickly is a dating app called Polyfinda.
Polyfinda?
Okay, you're right. Polyfinda.
We got the green light for that.
You can go back and listen to their episode 58.
58.
And it's a dating app, but it's also a community. And if you're looking for meeting other sexy people or just
you don't have to be
people,
poly.
No.
Or named Finn.
No.
You can be just open-minded.
Yep. Exactly.
So go
check it out.
Go check it out. And next week we've got
Molly and Greg.
Very cool interview.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome couple. We don't want to do any spoilers here, sort of like Avengers Endgame. We don't want to ruin it for people. But
stay tuned. Next Wednesday, that one will be live.
All right, my throat's getting dry. I've talked too much.
Yeah, you've talked a lot.
Yeah.
I should have interrupted you more.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.